Well, hello everybody. I like to welcome you back to this brand new video series on the relevance of Middle Eastern affairs right now to biblical prophecy. Of course, this is Fadi, and with me here joining us virtually, our dear brother Joel Richardson. And last time we did kind of like an overview, introduction, and a teaser, if you wish, about what is going to be discussed in terms of the relevance of these current affairs and how they could be interpreted from a biblical prophecy standpoint. Today, Joel is going to take us through a journey covering passages from Ezekiel 38, 39, and of course, those are very popular usually, and if possible, also venturing into Daniel 11. And we may really cover this in multiple episodes. So I just want to make sure that everybody is patient, because it's not about rushing things, it's about expounding on them in a correct manner. So Joel, I'll turn the mic over to you, brother.
All right. So yeah, we began talking in the last session about this massive shift in the Middle East, obviously over the past year with all of the Israeli victories over Hezbollah and so forth, which has ultimately led to the takeover of Syria, the fall of the Ba'athist Assad regime. This is a tectonic shift. Now, how does this relate to biblical prophecy? In the last session, I talked about the fact that really for well over 20 years now, I have been saying, keep your eyes on Turkey. The Bible emphasizes Turkey. And so one of the key passages that the Bible does talk about Turkey is Ezekiel 38 and 39. This is known as the Battle of Gog and Magog. And it's an incredibly important prophecy. It's one of the most important prophecies in the entire Old Testament. It's also interesting in that Islamic eschatology has its own traditions and prophecies related to Gog Magog. How do they say it? Yajuj wa Majuj? Do I have that right?
Yajuj wa Majuj, exactly, yeah.
And it's really, that to me is really fascinating. You know, they have this idea of these monsters that are sort of hidden, this army of monsters, these creatures hidden behind a wall, maybe someplace in Central Asia, that are going to flood the earth and so forth. It's a very sensationalized sort of evolution of the biblical prophecy itself. But that's a separate issue. So Ezekiel, what he did is he talked about this massive coalition of nations in the last days that would be led by an individual named Gog. And Gog is from the land of Magog, and he is the chief leader, chief prince of Meshech, Tubal. You have references to Gomer, to Gorma, Persia, Cush, and Put. So these are all different biblical ancient names. And so among interpreters today, there's really two different methods in terms of how to understand and interpret these names. The primary method, if you're to do a very careful analysis, and I have, I've done a very careful analysis of several of the top prophecy books put out by all these leading Christian authors and prophecy teachers, as they try to interpret these names, these regions. And the method of interpretation that they use, it's kind of this historical bloodline, DNA, intermarriage, migration, wild goose chase through history. So they'll, for example, look at one of the names, which is Magog, okay, because Gog is from Magog. They go, what's Magog? What does that mean to us today? And they'll say, well, the Magogian peoples, they became the Scythians. The Scythians migrated out of Asia Minor through Bulgaria and Moldova and Ukraine, Romania, up into Russia. They intermarried with the Scandinavian, Russian peoples, and they became the Russians. So they'll say Ezekiel was talking about Russia. This is a very common teaching, very common argument, among Christian theologians. Well, the other method of interpretation is simply the historical grammatical method, which is to say, we just look at these names and say, what did they mean to Ezekiel and his immediate audience? What did it mean to Ezekiel's audience in their day? And names like Magog, they were in Asia Minor or Anatolia. Today, that's Turkey. It's the region of modern-day Turkey, Syria, northern Iraq. Okay, so when we look at Ezekiel's prophecy, not using this historical bloodline wild goose chase method. Because if you do that, by the way, Al-Fadi, let's say you do that consistently. One of the other names is Gomer. The Gomerites became the Gemari. They became the Cimmerians. They became the Celts. So you'll see all these Christian prophecy books that say like the coming Russian invasion of Israel. And everyone thinks, Americans in particular, because, Russia is our historical enemy. We think, that's what the Bible says. We think the Bible demonizes our political enemies. But no one's written a book called The Coming Irish Invasion of Israel. But yet, if they were consistent, they would have to do that. Because if they're trying to claim that Magog became the Russians, then you have to include Ireland and Scotland and England and pretty much all of the Western world, all of the Japhetic peoples, okay? Because all of the names are the children of Japheth. In other words, they're Caucasian. That would be like the United States, Canada, Central and South America, Australia, New Zealand, If you simply use the historical grammatical method, which I would argue is the responsible method, then we're simply looking at the regions that in Ezekiel's day, that was Anatolia, it's Turkey, it's Syria, and so forth. So, a lot of these guys, in my opinion, they use a flawed interpretive method. If we simply use a responsible method, then this prophecy points to Turkey or the region of Turkey as the leader of a last days revived empire, a revived coalition of nations that will reform. It's a former empire that will reform in the last days. It will unite many of these Middle Eastern and North African nations, and together they will eventually invade the land of Israel. So, if we're using the historical grammatical method, again, I would argue that's the responsible method, then we have this very clear, massive, towering mountain of a prophecy in the Bible, which predicts a last days Turkish-led invasion, a Turkish-led Middle Eastern invasion of the land of Israel. And then you look right now at the president of Turkey, Erdogan, openly, regularly using this hostile rhetoric toward Israel, thumbing his nose at the West, pumping his chest, thumping his chest, as though he is sort of emerging as the region's most powerful leader. And you go, wow, 3,000 years ago, Ezekiel, or 2,500 years ago-ish, Ezekiel predicted with specificity geopolitical realities on the ground today. And I always like to point out, Al-Fadi, that just several weeks ago, all of the algorithms, all of the computer programs, all of the think tanks, all of the forecasters, no one could tell us with accuracy in just a couple of weeks who was going to be the next American president. They could guess, they could try, but no one knew. And here, 2,500 years ago, you had a biblical prophet who predicted with specificity geopolitical realities that we see unfolding on the ground right now, right in front of us. And I think that's something that we absolutely should be paying attention to.
Absolutely. So where are you going to take us after taking this look now at the Ezekiel 38 and 39? What is the next step for us along this journey?
I want to compare this to Daniel chapter 11, because really it's Ezekiel 38, 39, and Daniel chapter 11, or you could say Daniel chapter 10 through 12, as two incredibly important prophecies, both which confirm one another and which help us to understand what's happening in the Middle East, not only with Turkey, but also with nations like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and just how biblical prophecy is really being validated on the world scene right in front of us.
Wonderful. Thank you, brother, for that. Before we wrap this episode up, can you tell people where they can find you? And you just published a new book also, or recently a book. So if you can talk a little bit about that too.
Yeah, so my website is joelstrumpet.com, and I also regularly put out teaching videos on YouTube. Just type in Joel Richardson. All my books and articles are free as PDF files on my website. Again, joelstrumpet.com. And my most recent book, it's actually a couple years old now, Sinai to Zion. It's about the return of Jesus. It's a beautiful book. But the best place to get that is going to be on Amazon.
All right. Well, wonderful, brother. Thank you so much. And maybe you did allude to that book when you were preparing it last time when we did the series on Mount Sinai. But I would love really for us to unpack it maybe on a live stream, or we'll do another series of these. Maybe you can join me next time. I know we couldn't work it out, but hopefully next time we will be able to. Thank you, brother, as always, for all that you do. And one of these days, brother, I'm going to join you in the Holy Land. I want to just go there and just be with the group that you typically take to tour. It's going to be fun, I'm pretty sure. Again, thank you everyone for joining. I hope you're benefiting from all of this. Take notes and go and visit Joel's website and download the books that you can, and go and purchase also through Amazon his latest book. I'm sure the brother can use any of these blessings coming his way. And I know, by the way, Joel does artwork and other things too. I'll let him talk about that maybe next time. If you follow him in X, you will be able to see a lot of that as well. Thanks, brother. Thank you, everyone. This is Fadi, over and out. God bless. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment. And ring the bell so you will be notified when we release new content. Our mission is to reach Muslims with the gospel of Jesus Christ and help Christians engage with their Muslim neighbors. If you want to join us in this life-changing work, please support us on patreon.com/CIRA International, or just click on the link below.